What's up everyone, Casey here with Zoe, and we are going to do a how to play video for our game Bear Mountain Camping Adventure. And so we are going to jump right into the setup here. And so first...
This is for the base game only.
Yep.
Keep that in mind.
For the base game. So first what you're going to do is you're going to put the board in the middle of the table, and then each player is going to pick out their player board. And then each player will also get 4 of each card from the 2 different starting decks. And so these cards are the same for everyone. And so each person will get the 4 cards for each deck, and you'll go ahead and shuffle those.
8 cards total. And you're going to keep them separated at all times. Blue goes together, green goes together.
Yep. And once you're done shuffling those, go ahead and place those next to your player board and leave a little bit of space for a discard pile, either underneath each deck. We've also had times where we'll put the discard piles on the other side of the player board.
Just depends on how much space you have, what table you're playing at. So.
Exactly. Yep. And then each player will also get a reference card or a couple reference cards. There's a player board reference card, and then also just a reference card to show you the turn order, as well as it kind of shows you what tokens are on the board there in case it's too small or the board is too far away. So then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to place out your campsite tiles. And so you'll want to put them all face down and shuffle them. And then each campsite that has this little dotted line around it, there's also a section in the rule book that kind of highlights which campsites have this little dotted line. Each of those sites will get 2 campsite tiles placed on them, just stacked, just like that. And then you're going to put all of the activity tokens as well as some coins and campfire tokens in the tent trays, and then you're just going to put those on either end of the table so everyone can reach them. The rest of the tokens you can put into the camper tray here, and there is space in this tray for all the expansions, so if you want to separate the tokens any way you'd like, you can. All right, and then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to shuffle each of the 2 activity decks. So there's a green deck and a blue deck. And once you're done shuffling those, you'll place them up here and then turn over the first 3 cards of each deck.
What's really nice too is if I move this aside, you can see that there's little guides on where you're supposed to put everything. It's like that for all of these card spots.
And these are the cards, this is kind of your card bank, and so these are the cards that you're going to be purchasing throughout the game under the camping activities. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to choose which light camper, mid-size camper, and large RV you're going to play with throughout the game. So how this works is it comes with a deck full of campers, and so you'll basically just choose 3 of these. The only important part is that the first one underneath this section needs to say light camper on it. And so there's a couple different light campers throughout the deck. So you have the Earth Day light camper, and then you have kind of the normal one here. And so we're just going to play with the normal ones. And so what you'll do,
each one gives you different like benefits and different things you can do, by the way.
Absolutely. And so what you'll want to do is when you're looking through this deck, look for the ones that will match your player boards that you're playing with. So Zoe and I are playing with these ones that look like this, kind of a green and kind of a purplish one. And so I've gone ahead already and taken out the campers that match those player boards. And so these are the ones we're going to be able to upgrade to. As you can see, that one just kind of
see how
fits
nice
in there.
That blends in. Gorgeous.
And so you'll go ahead and place those. And then this is the mid-size camper we chose. And then the large. And those will go here for when we're ready to upgrade to those campers. We can set the rest of those camper cards back in the box. And then the next thing you're going to do is each player is going to choose what color of camper they'd like to be. And so I'm going to go ahead and be red for this.
I'm always blue.
And then you're going to put 1 camper on the green rectangle, the first green rectangle in campsite order. And then you can leave the other camper just sitting on your tent on your player board. And then each player is going to draw 2 cards from their blue deck and 2 cards from their green deck. And you can mix these together in your hand. This is going to be your hand for the first turn. So the objective to this game is to be the first player to reach the Bear Mountain campsite, which is the one right in the center. And how you're going to do this is you're going to start down here in the Firefly Grove campground, which is the green color at the bottom here. And you're going to make your way across the board to different colored campgrounds until you reach the top, until you reach the middle. And so we'll kind of get into how you move to different colored campsites. The different colors for each campsite are at the bottom of your player board, like Zoe's showing here. And you do have to move in the order shown, and we'll show kind of how that works as well. And then lastly, decide who goes first. In the rule book, it suggests the last person who ate a s'mores is the person who's going to go first. So in this case, that would be Zoe.
That was definitely me. All right, since I'm going first, I went ahead and drew 2 green cards and 2 blue cards. I'll go ahead and show you guys what they are. They're from my starter deck. We've got swimming, we've got sunbathing, bird watching, and hiking. You can see above this little white box here, it says starter deck, so that's how you know if you've got a starter card or not. And then it also says what you gain when you draw and play this card from your hand. So in this instance, swimming gives me one of these tokens, sunbathing gives me a pink one, bird watching gives me yellow, and the hiking gives me a hiking token. And you can see all 4 of them right there. The first thing that I always do is check the card bank over here to see if I can afford anything. The cost of the card is on the bottom white box here. So we'll have Casey hold one up so you guys can see what it looks like.
Yep, and so you can see right at the bottom here, to purchase this canoeing card, it costs 1 fishing token and 1 firewood token. And then it says what you gain when you play this card. Right above that. So if you play this card, you'll gain 3 canoeing tokens.
Yep. So just looking over these cards, I just so happen to have 3 tokens that allow me to buy Read a Book, which I love this card. I love the art. So there's Read a Book, and you'll see I've got a pink token, the floaty token, I've got the yellow binocular token, and I've got the green hiking token. So that means I can buy this card. So I go ahead and turn these in. This is now my card, and this is going to go in my discard pile for now, along with my cards that I just played. You're going to want to go ahead and put it in the discard pile that matches the color. You can either look on the back of the card to see if it's green or blue, or we have put a little border around the box here. So the border is green, which means it goes in my green discard pile. Okay, so what this card does for me is I can draw 2 cards, then discard any 1 card when I play this. So next time I shuffle this back into my hand, I draw this, that's what I get to do. I also get to draw 1 biking token, which is really nice. And then you'll see this special little symbol right here. This one looks like a compass. There's 6 different symbols throughout the game on different cards, which you can see. I'll go ahead and pull this up so you guys can look at it. These are the 6 symbols right here. And these represent cards that have more special powers when you draw them, or more OP cards, I guess I'd say. And so what that means is I'm gonna draw a compass token, which is in our camper tray. That's what it looks like. And it's gonna go right on the matching space right there, which means that I can't have another card that has this symbol on it because it's too OP to have more than 1.
Yep, and then we're gonna go ahead and replace the card that she just drew in the bank here with a new camping activity.
And this is gonna go in my green discard pile. Now I do have 1 token left over, and so just to really quick run through what else you can do with your tokens besides buy a card, is you can save a token. I say a token because as of right now, my tent allows me to keep 1 activity token. Of course, you can upgrade, like we've mentioned before, to the different campers, and they will allow you to hold more tokens and do different things. But right now, luckily, what's kind of nice is I only have 1 token left over, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my token in its corresponding space here and hold on to it. If you have 3 activity tokens left over, and let's say that I can only save 1 because I have the tent, I can trade 3 activity tokens for a campfire, which acts as a wild token, which is really nice. So that's something to keep in mind if you weren't sure what to do with your tokens.
Yep, and you can also reference that here on your player board. You can purchase a campfire token, which count as wild, for 3 of any token, which is what this little circle means, or you can also purchase it for 2 coins.
You also have your reference card here, which tells you what all of these special things on here do. Campfire being the first one on here, which mentions what Casey just said, which is really nice.
And just as a note, these tokens that you're saving carry over into future turns, and there's no limit to how many you can store in your bank over here on your player board.
All right, so once I have used up or saved all of my activity tokens, it's time to end my turn by moving to a campsite. So at the beginning of the game, you get to choose between these green campsites at the Firefly Grove campground down here. And like we mentioned at the beginning of the video, you're going to be going around here to get to the Bear Mountain campsite, which is the most coveted campsite in the whole campground. So let me kind of explain what each campsite does. So these wooden signs that are below each campsite tells you what you get for camping there. Let's say I go to this one right here and I park my camper right here. I'm going to get to draw a green card and a blue card for next turn, and I'm going to get 2 coins, which can go in my bank over here. Same goes for like all of these. They all give you a coin or 2, which is really nice. With this one, you get 2 blue cards and a green card for next turn. And so once you start building your deck and you kind of know what cards you have in which deck, you can strategically pick which campsite you're going to go to based on what cards you want to pull. And something extra special about the Firefly Grove campground that I want to mention really quick is this little recycling spot down here. If you go here and you camp here for the night, you can pay 3 of any activity token and you can recycle a card from your hand.
Yep, and just to mention, it shows a blue card, but it can be a blue or a green card from your hand that you've played this turn. And so after you play your cards, you're going to throw them in your discard pile. But if you leave them out there and you're going to this space, you can see which card you'd like to get rid of. And by recycling, what that means is you're getting rid of it for the rest of the game.
Yep, so if you want to kind of not have the starter cards bogging down the rest of your deck as you're building it up, you can come here and you can recycle one, give it to the raccoons there. So if I wanted to do that, I could just say goodbye to my sunbathing, throw it off to the side, and that's not going to be eaten at my deck for the rest of the time.
Absolutely.
And so like I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to park right here for the night. I'm going to draw a green card from my deck, a blue card from my deck, and I also get 2 coins, which are going to go in my little coin spot right here. Awesome. And then it is Casey's turn.
Awesome. And then for my turn, I'm going to go through it here and just to show a couple things. So I have a Gather Firewood card, Hiking card, Swimming, and Canoe. And so as you can see on the bottom of these cards, I will gain these tokens. So I'm going to go ahead and do that quick. So now that I have these tokens, I'm going to do the same thing as Zoe. I'm going to check the card bank first personally so that I can see if there's any cards that I can build my deck with. And so I am going to go ahead and spend my canoeing token to purchase the swimming card. And so I'll hold this up here. So you can see the bottom there shows to purchase. It costs 1 canoe token. And then I'm going to go ahead and add that to the discard pile of my blue deck to be shuffled back in once I run out of cards up here. And so I'm going to go ahead and throw these in my discard piles as well. All right, and then with the rest of my tokens, I'm going to look to see what else pops up here. And it doesn't look like I can purchase anything else from the card bank, and I can save 1 token per turn with my tent. And so I can just go ahead and save 1 of these by putting it there, but then I would have to discard the last 2 tokens. So anything you don't use or can't save gets discarded at the end of your turn. And so instead of just saving 1 of these and discarding the other 2, I'm going to go ahead and spend all 3 to purchase a Campfire token, which will act as a wild token, so it'll act as any one of these tokens.
And they are real nice to have on hand.
Yes. And then with my Campfire token, I'm going to go ahead and put that in this bank. Oh, and also, it's a little late, but I did just want to point out that during the setup of the game, the person who goes second is technically at a disadvantage. Same for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th player. And so I'm supposed to start out with a coin, which I'll put right here. And it does say in the rules what each player gets who goes after the first player for being second and third and fourth. So make sure to check the rules for that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and place my camper at a spot. And so I'm going to look over what's available. And so where Zoe is on the board right here, I cannot go to that spot. I can't share a campsite with her.
Unless you have a special card that allows you to do so.
Yep, unless I have a card that allows me to do so. And so I can choose from any of these other sites in the green or down here in the Firefly Grove campground. And so I am going to go ahead and go to this spot. And so I'm going to go ahead and draw 2 blue, 2 green, and gain 1 coin from going to this spot. All right, and then it'll go back to Zoe.
All right, so I'm going to go on to my second turn now, and I already drew my green and my blue card that I get from landing on that space. And I have a fishing card and a mountain biking card. And like I said earlier, you're going to discard right into the corresponding colors. So with these 2 cards, I got an orange biking token and a teal fishing token. And then not to forget, over here, I've got my swimming token that's in my bank right here. So technically, I have these 3 to spend. So I'm going to go ahead and look over here and see if I have any of the combos of tokens I need to purchase any of these cards, which I do not. However, I really, really, really want the upper left-hand card, which is rock climbing. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to make that happen.
And just to show you too, so the cost for this card is 1 biking token and 1 canoeing token. She has a biking token, but not a canoeing token.
Yep, so I'm going to put my swimming token right back over here in the bank from last time when I saved it. And in order to make the magic happen, I'm going to spend my 2 coins to purchase a campfire, because you can buy a campfire turning in 3 tokens or by spending 2 coins. And it acts as a wild. So now that I have a campfire, I can go ahead and spend my orange biking token and my campfire that I just bought. And I can get the rock climbing card because I had a wild, which is super nice. So that's the rock climbing card. It's going to give me a coin, a binocular token, and a biking token whenever I play that. It's got the green ring around it, which means it's going to go in my green deck. And then this just so conveniently happened to work out that the tent allows me to save 1 activity token. So I'm going to put my last activity token back in here, replace that card up over there, see what we got, even though I'm sure I can't afford it, which I cannot. So now that I've done all of this stuff with my activity tokens, it's time to move my camper again. And the thing with moving the camper is that you have to move. You cannot stay in the same site that you were already in unless you have a special card that allows you to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move right here, which lets me draw a blue card and 2 green cards, plus I get a coin.
And just a note, so once you move to a new site, and these are the things that you're going to do at the end of your turn. And so she's going to draw her blue card, 2 green cards, and the coin. But she wouldn't be able to use that coin on this turn because technically once she draws these cards and gains this coin, her turn is over.
You guys will notice that while he was talking, I was drawing my cards and I ran out of green cards in my deck. So I went ahead and I shuffled my discard pile, moved it right back up here to be my hand again, and I'm going to draw my second green card from the top.
Awesome. All right, for my next turn, I'm actually going to go ahead and just give myself some tokens and some coins so that I can kind of explain what some of the other stuff does on your player board, as well as how to progress in the game. And so let's just say that on my turn, I'm starting with...
He had a real OP last turn.
Yeah,
I just had the camera turned off.
I had a great turn. And so I'm just going to give myself a bunch of stuff here. All right, so let's say I go ahead and I played my cards, and I gained all the tokens and coins from those cards, did any of the special abilities that it says to do on the card, and so now I'm left with this. And so looking at my options, I can purchase a card from here. I also have enough coins to upgrade my tent, and you can tell that by looking in the upper right corner of either the tent or the camper card, and it'll show you how much it costs to upgrade. And so for the tent, it says upgrade for 3 coins. And so I want to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and spend 3 of my coins here to upgrade to the next level. And so looking at the board, it will go first this camper, then this one, and then lastly this one.
Light, medium, large, basically.
Exactly. And so I'm going to go ahead and I get to upgrade to the light camper, which I'll take the one that matches my player board here and go ahead and place that here. So now with this camper, I can keep up to 2 activity tokens each turn instead of the tent, which I can only keep 1. And here, let me show you where it says that. So it's right at the bottom. Owner may keep up to 2 activity tokens per turn. And so that's going to be really helpful in order for me to be able to save enough tokens to either move forward in the game or purchase more cards that I would want. And so let's go ahead and look at a couple of the other things I can do on my player board. I have a couple of leftover coins. And so if we look at the upper left-hand corner, there's a backpack and it says I can purchase for 2 coins. And then there's also kind of in the middle of the board, some granola bars, and it says I can purchase 1 for 2 coins or I can purchase 3 for 4 coins. And then right to the right of that is a wildlife bell token, and it says I can purchase 1 of those for 4 of any token. So any of the activity tokens is what that little circle means. And so I'm gonna go ahead. So if I wanted to purchase a backpack token in the upper left-hand corner, I could spend these 2 coins to gain a backpack token, which we have in the camper tray over there. And then that would just go in my bank right here, and I could save that for the future, or I could spend it right away. And when you spend a backpack token, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take it and you're gonna put it on the right side, and you can only spend 3 of these in the whole game. And what they do is they allow you to draw an extra card from either deck. And so I can do that at any point during my turn. So if I can do it while I'm playing my cards or after I've played my cards for the turn, if I have one of these saved up or I just purchase one, I can spend that and draw an extra card from either deck.
Yeah, let me just say that the backpack token has helped me win before when I'm up here and I'm trying to get to the last one to win, and I have 2 of all of the tokens I need to win, but I don't have my off-roading card. I can use my backpack and I might pull an off-roading card, which is the difference between winning or losing the game sometimes.
Absolutely. So let's say I had 2 more coins here to spend. And let's say I wanted to instead purchase a granola bar. So I'm going to spend those 2 tokens again, grab a granola bar from the camper tray.
I'll give you the blue flavor.
Absolutely. And so again, you can either store these for the future, and that's where buying 3 for 4 coins can be useful, so that you can use them later in the game as well. Or I can spend it right now. And when I spend a granola bar token, what it'll do is it'll clear out this card bank here.
You don't have to put them on the bottom of the pile. You can make discard piles, whatever's easiest.
Yep.
You can always shuffle them back in later.
And then you're going to draw 3 new cards from each deck. And then you'll also get, by spending that 1 granola bar token, is a reset of this board, and you can purchase any one of the new cards that comes out for -1 of any token that it shows. And that is including a Campfire token. And just to note too, when you see a card that you can purchase for a Campfire token and for this one a swimming token, you do need to purchase it with one of your Campfire tokens, so with one of your wild tokens. And so looking at what's available here, I just used my granola bar, and so I reset the board and I can purchase any of these for -1 token. So actually, if we look at this fishing card, it's technically free because there's only 1 token on there. And so I'll go ahead and take that and it'll go into my discard pile, my blue discard pile. All right, so now let's say I'm towards the end of my turn here. I've upgraded my camper. I got a card from the card bank here. So the next thing is I want to move my camper. And so again, I can move to any of the spots in the color section that I'm already in, except for the one that Zoey is on here. But I'm also going to look at the next color area up here, which is the Misty Mountain Pass.
Which again, you can see on your little reference guide here if you don't want to try to crane your neck and see what's on there. You've got this right here so that you can see what it costs to move to these spots.
Yep, and so you can see up on these flags for each site what the cost is. And so let's say I'm looking to go to this site right here. I can see to the left where these flags are that I need 2 fishing tokens and 1 hiking token in order to move from the green zone to this site. And so I'm gonna go ahead and spend that. I have 2 fishing tokens and 1 hiking token that I wanna spend. And then I'm gonna go ahead and move my guy all the way up.
See how his guy doesn't follow the road?
Oh no,
there is a road. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a road. And then I did also want to point out too that you don't have to move. It's not like I have to go from this site to this site to this site and all the way up. It's kind of by color section. And so when you're in the green sites, you can go to any of the other green sites at the end of your turn. Same thing if you're looking to move up to the purple sites. I can move to any of these purple sites that I'd like to, as long as I have what it costs to move to that site. And so I went ahead and I moved to this site, and what that means is I'm gonna draw 2 green cards and 1 blue card to play on my next turn. Once I move there, I'm also going to move the camper on my player board up to the purple rectangle right to the right of that. And what that does for me is on the end of my next turn, I don't have to pay to go to a different site within the purple section right here. I don't have to pay whatever it says on the little flags to go to that site because the camper on my player board is within the rectangle, or is at least within the rectangle for that color. And so on the end of my next turn, when I'm moving this guy to a new campsite, I'm gonna decide that I want to go to this one right here, because I want 1 blue card, 1 green card, and I want a coin at the end of that turn. And so I can absolutely do that. I do not have to pay for it again because my camper is within the purple section. So alternatively, let's say on my next turn, I'd like to move back to a green campsite. And the reason you might want to do that is because the further along in the game that you get, the less resources you gain at the end of your turn. So for example, once I get up into this section and then finally the orange section, there isn't a lot on the signs. Usually it's just 2 cards. You'll see up here, there are a couple sites that you get 3 cards on. But if you look at the green section, you can get up to 4 cards and a coin, and there's some that give you 2 coins.
And the recycling spot is also back here in the green.
Absolutely. So at the end of my next turn, I absolutely can move back to the green sites and back to any green site that I want. Let's say I go ahead and I move back to the recycling space, I recycle a card, and then at the end of my next turn, I can either move to another green space that I'm already in, or I can move back up to any of the purple spaces, any of the purple campsites that I would like without paying. And the reason that I can do that is because the camper on my player board is in the purple rectangle.
You've already paid.
Yep,
You've already
exactly.
paid your entrance fee into that campground.
Yep, you've already paid, so you don't need to pay again to move back up into this section. All right, so then at the end of my next turn, let's say I have the tokens that I need and I would like to progress further to the next color group of campsites, which on my player board I can see is the yellow group, which is over here at the Mammoth Peak National Park. And so I'm looking at which one I want to move to, and let's say I have these tokens, so I can go ahead and move to this one at the end of my turn. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I spend the tokens that I need to spend for that, and then I'll move the camper on my player board up to the yellow section. And so now that I have my camper on my player board up to the yellow section, I can now move between the yellow, purple, and green campsites without paying a dime. And so on the end of my next turn, let's say I want to go back over here, that's totally fine. I don't have to pay the cost to go back to this campsite. And then I can also move back up here to any of these campsites if I would like to. Now, one thing I cannot do is I can't move from this campsite to a green campsite, because you do have to move one color group at a time according to your player board. So if I wanted to go back and recycle a card and I was up here in the yellow section, I would have to spend one turn going to any of these purple campsites, and then on my next turn, I could go back to a green campsite. And that's the same for moving back up to the yellow section. I can't go straight from a green campsite all the way up to a yellow campsite. I'd have to move through the purple first, taking a turn there, spending the night in a purple campsite. And then on my next turn, I could move back up to a yellow campsite. Okay, so now that we've talked about how the movement works in the game, one other thing that I wanted to go over was the Trailblazer Token. Whoever owns the Trailblazer Token gets to gain 1 additional coin each turn. And how you gain the Trailblazer Token is by being the first player to move up to a new section that nobody else has been to before. For example, if I were to be the first player to move from a green campsite to a purple campsite, I would gain the Trailblazer Token, which gives me an extra coin each turn. And I would just set it over here.
Now let's say I'm able to zoop up here, and then before Casey gets the chance to, I get to zoop up to the yellow.
So she is now the first player to move to the yellow section of campsites, which is going to have her steal the Trailblazer Token from me, and now she gets 1 additional coin each turn.
The only other rule when it comes to the Trailblazer Token is this example I'm about to show you guys, which let's say I currently have the Trailblazer Token because I got up to the blue group the fastest, but I'm ready to move on to the Wilderness Point Trail, which is all of these campsites here, these brown ones that surround the coveted Bear Mountain campsite. This is your last group of campsites before you win the game, and so in order to encourage other people to keep up with you and make it a little bit more fair, this gets handed to the person who is next in line to move on up here. So whoever's in the blue is going to get the Trailblazer Token.
Exactly, yeah. Once she moves up to the final stage here, the final circle, she cannot no longer own the Trailblazer Token. It has to be passed down to whoever's the next closest.
And if there's more than one camper in the blue campground, more than one player, the person who is handing off the Trailblazer Token gets to decide who they give it to. So maybe somebody's a little bit closer to moving up. You definitely would want to give it to the person who's behind strategically. So that's just a little heads up. So I showed this side, but on this side, it also tells you everything about the Trailblazer Token in case you felt overwhelmed in when it gets passed and what it does. So that's something that's on everybody's reference card too.
Alrighty, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is the campsite tiles, which are all of these stacks that you see around the board on certain campsites. You'll normally see these on campsites that will give you better benefits. So as you can see in the purple section of sites up here in the Misty Mountain Pass, the only site that gives you 2 coins when you go to it is this one. However, there are also 2 campsite tiles that are stacked onto this space. Let's say I'm already up here, and at the end of my turn, I want 2 coins, and so I'm going to go ahead and move to this campsite.
Just to preface, these campsite tiles can be good things or they can be bad things.
Yep. And so it's a little bit of a risk, but I'm going to move there, and then I'm going to go ahead and flip the top campsite tile on that site. So let's go ahead and see what it is. Alrighty.
Whoops.
And so on the very first one, we got a bear. And so what the bear does is it's going to chase me backwards a whole color group. And so from there, instead of moving to this site like I wanted to, I'm actually going to be pushed back to one of these sites. Now I can still choose whichever of these sites I want, except for the one that Zoey is on. So I'll go back to this one. However, the camper on my player board is also going to go backwards 1 space. And so this will get discarded, but now I have to pay to move up to the purple section again. So on my next turn, if I want to go back up here, I got to pay whatever is on the flags in order to move the camper on my player board back up to the purple section. Now let's say I wanted to move here and we flip the campsite tile, and instead it's something good. So for this one, it shows a blue card on there, and the little red X on there is just showing that you can gain a blue card from the blue card bank as long as it doesn't have an icon on it. So I wouldn't be able to get this card because it has a little tent icon right here on the side. But I could gain either of the other ones. And so I'd go ahead and gain this one. It'd go to my discard pile, and then I would be able to stay on this site, which would give me 2 coins plus 1 of each card. And then you can either reference the rule book to see what each campsite tile does, there's also one reference card in each game that shows you what all of the tiles do as well. All right, so there was one more thing on the player board that I didn't really go into a lot of details of, and that was the Wildlife Bell token. And so whenever you purchase that token for 4 of any token, of any activity token, you'll go ahead and gain the Wildlife Bell token, which we currently have in a camper tray. And then I'll go right here. And what this does is it scares off any wildlife. And so let's say I really wanted to go to this space. And so I can go there, and if I have a Wildlife Bell token and it happens to be a bear tile, then I'll be safe from the bear. I don't have to move back to the green section on my player board or on here. And then my Wildlife Bell gets discarded.
All right, so the last thing that I'm going to talk about is the campers and what happens when you upgrade them. So I know Casey already talked about upgrading from the tent to the light camper. You do have to go in order from tent, light camper, mid-sized camper to large RV. You can't skip one if you want to go from the light to the large. So that's something to keep in mind. Upper right-hand corner on all of the cards is going to show you what you have to pay in order to upgrade to the next step. So 3 coins in order to go up to the light camper, which let's say that I paid for that. I've got the light camper, and then that one is owner may keep up to 2 activity tokens per turn, which is really nice. That's gonna go right here. And then next up, upgrade for 4 coins is the next step for the light camper. So let's say that I'm paying my 4 coins, put this back over here, and then I'm gonna take a mid-sized camper, which looks like this. Down here it says owner may keep up to 3 activity tokens per turn, which is getting really nice. And then you'll notice this symbol right here. And what this means is that you can exchange a card. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk you guys through that. Let's say I'm just gonna go ahead and just throw these down here. Let's say at the beginning of my turn, I get to pull my 4 cards or whatever that tells me to do on my spot. Let's say that I really don't like this swimming card, or I'm looking for a different card. This, like I said, exchange a card. It's got a 1 on there, so you can exchange 1 card. So I'm going to go ahead and pull another card, and then I can choose to discard any other card. So like I said, I don't want this swimming one, so that goes away, and I get to keep this fishing card. So I basically just exchanged, which is really nice if you're looking for something specific.
And just a note on that, when you exchange a card, you don't have to pull from the same deck that you want to discard. So if she wants to get rid of her swimming card, she doesn't have to pull another blue card from her deck. She can pull another green card and then decide from all of the cards that she now has in her hand which one she'd like to discard.
Yep, and if you pull a card that you actually don't want, you can just straight up discard that one too. Just because you pulled a card to exchange it does not mean that you have to keep that card. So just something to keep in mind. All right, moving on. Mid-size camper costs 5 coins to upgrade. So I'm gonna go ahead and pretend I paid that, put that back over here, and I'm gonna grab the large RV, which looks like this. And this one is owner may keep up to 4 activity tokens per turn. And it's got the exchange a card thing again down here, and it's got a 2 next to it, which means that I can do the exact same thing I just did. Let's say that I had all these cards in my hand, but I'm like, I am looking for something else specific. I could pull 2 more cards and then discard 2 cards if I wanted to. I don't want that one, I don't want that one. And this is my new hand. So this is a good way to get through your starter cards if you didn't recycle them, or if you're looking for your off-roading card at the very end, that's a smart thing to do. And then obviously keeping more activity tokens makes it easier to collect the 2 of each that you need to win, and also collect more cards because they are expensive, the good cards are. So definitely something to keep in mind. In the rulebook, you can find different references for what each camper does. They all do different fun things. You got the holiday ones and all the different kind of designs, so definitely be sure to check those out to mix up your gameplay.
One thing she mentioned was if you wanted to cycle through your cards is to get to an off-roading card. So let's talk about that a little bit. There are off-roading cards in both the green and the blue deck. They're equal in both decks. And so when one of those comes out onto the card bank here, let's just say this one is out already, you're going to want to pick one or more of these up throughout the game. And the reason why is, let's say I'm already up to this point. My camper on my player board is already up here. And so my next step is to move up and win the game by moving to the Bear Mountain campsite. And so to do that, it says on the flags that I need 2 of every one of these 8 tokens on the side of my player board, as well as I need to also play an off-roading card on the same turn that I'm spending 2 of each of those tokens. Now, what you'll want to kind of pay attention to and kind of balance throughout the game, though, is collecting these, but not collecting too many of these, and collecting them at the right time. The reason I say that is because whenever you play this card, all it says is that it's required to reach the Bear Mountain campsite. It doesn't actually do anything for you. So it actually kind of is a waste of space in your decks and in your hand when you play it.
Especially when you're trying to build your deck and move forward.
Exactly. And so getting it super early on is, it's a safe way for you to know that you have one for when you get to the end of the game, but it's also going to hinder you throughout the game because it's not going to do anything for you on any other turn except for the very last turn. And so let's go ahead and say that I own this card and I have a few other cards in my hand. All right, so let's say I'm trying to win the game here. So on this turn, I'm going to go ahead and play these cards that were in my hand. And as you can see, I have an off-roading card in my hand. So I'm playing those on this turn. Everyone can see that I have played my off-roading card. And then I'm going to look at my tokens bank here. And so I have 2 swimming tokens, 2 canoeing tokens, 2 sunbathing, 2 fishing, 2 bird watching, 2 hiking, and 1 firewood token. Now, I can also use my wild tokens for this section, and so I'm going to put one of my campfire tokens on my firewood token so that it equals 2 of those, and then I'm going to use my last 2 wild tokens for the 2 that I need for my biking tokens, so that'll give me 2 of every single token, plus my off-roading card, means that I can move to this campsite and win the game.
Boo!
Just as a side note as well, whenever you're moving from one color group to the next one, you can also use these wild tokens if you need it to cover for one of the costs.
Yep, you can use wild tokens in place of anything in the game.
Yep.
For any instance. A gameplay note that I wanted to mention is that it's definitely a balance between building your deck and racing to the top. We've played sometimes when people are trying to move forward too fast and they haven't built their deck enough and they get stuck up here trying to move forward and people are zooming past them. Or we have people that hang out back here for a long time. Everybody's already up here and they've just spent all their time building their deck and then they zoom up and try to beat everybody else. So all in all, it's very balanced, which is really nice. And you can kind of play at your speed and you can try different strategies and stuff to see what works best for you in order to get to that coveted Bear Mountain campsite. We hope you love this game. Feel free to post pictures and videos and tag us. We love to see how your games are going and what different strategies you're trying. So definitely let us know. We hope you have so much fun and thank you so much for your support.
Bye.
Bye.